The way that they manipulated and altered and deleted things is wrong. They should not be able to do it, and they have. And for you to be able to look me in the eye knowing that the things are altered and
You pled guilty, man.
Miss Michaels, you are not to address the state. You are to address me. You are. You're addressing Mr. Giordano. You are going to address me. What do you want me to say? What do you want to say to me?
How can a woman fall in love with her stepson? This is the case of Devyn Michaels. The Love Triangle Beheading trial. A woman who married a man, had 2 daughters with him, divorced him, and then married his son. August 6, 2023. Henderson, Nevada. 46-year-old Johnathan Willette, a devoted father, was found dead in his mother's home. What had been done to his body would shock even seasoned detectives. January 8, 2026. Devyn Michaels stands before Judge Tiara Jones for sentencing after a dramatic trial and a withdrawn plea deal. But even as justice is served, one question haunts investigators. New evidence may finally reveal the answers to where his head might be. Welcome to Veil of Crime. If you appreciate what we do here, consider supporting this channel by subscribing. Let's continue. Verdict: ex-porn star learns her fate. Love Triangle Beheading trial. Before we understand the murder, we need to understand the victim. Johnathan Willette was 46 years old when he died. A father of 2 young daughters. A man who fought through contentious family court battles to win sole custody of his children. Those who knew him described him as a devoted father who would do whatever was necessary to protect his girls. In August 2023, Johnathan had just achieved what he'd been fighting for, full custody of his daughters. And he'd made a decision that he believed would give his girls stability. He would move back in with his ex-wife, Devyn Michaels, to be closer to his children. It was a decision made out of love for his daughters. It was also a decision that would cost him his life. Devyn Michaels, also known as Nikki Fairchild and Tracy Tavares, lived a life that defied convention. In her earlier years, she worked as an adult film actress under the stage name Nikki Fairchild. Later, she transitioned to a career in real estate, presenting herself as a successful professional. But it was her personal life that raised eyebrows and would eventually lead investigators to her door. In 2012, Devyn married Johnathan Willette. Together, they had 2 daughters. But the marriage was troubled from the start. Devyn would later describe the relationship as purely transactional. In her own words, "I would have sex with him, and he would pay the bills." They divorced in 2018, but their lives remained entangled through their children. Then came the twist that shocked everyone who heard it. After divorcing Johnathan, Devyn married his son. Devyn Willette, 29 years old, became her new husband. Think about that for a moment. Devyn Michaels was simultaneously the ex-wife of Johnathan Willette and the stepmother to her new husband, Devyn. Her daughters were both Devyn's half-sisters and his stepdaughters. Even Devyn acknowledged the strangeness of the arrangement. She told Family Services that neither marriage was real. Both were marriages of convenience, ways to maintain financial stability and living arrangements. But when Johnathan won sole custody of their daughters and announced he was moving back in, that carefully constructed arrangement was about to collapse. And prosecutors would later argue, Devyn Michaels decided her ex-husband had to die. Sunday, August 6, 2023. A seemingly ordinary summer evening in Henderson, Nevada. At 10:05 p.m., surveillance cameras at a local Chevron gas station captured Devyn Michaels and Johnathan Willette entering the store together. They browse for about 5 minutes before leaving. They appear relaxed, normal. There's no sign of the violence that's about to unfold. They drive to Johnathan's mother's home on Palo Duro Drive in Henderson. It's a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind of place where neighbors know each other and children play in the streets. What happens next would turn that peaceful home into a crime scene so disturbing that seasoned homicide detectives would struggle to process it.
The night before, when they're doing the moving, it shows us that they are together, that no third party is present, it's just them. They go into a store, they buy an item, and they leave. And then 2:28 a.m., the defendant is alone. It kind of clipped off on this particular picture, but defendant is alone in her vehicle after she leaves the residence and goes back to her home, ultimately landing there about 2:46 a.m.
According to Devyn's own statements to police, she was giving Johnathan a massage in his bedroom. He was lying face down on the bed, relaxed, trusting, completely unaware of what was about to happen. Devyn told detectives she grabbed something from the room. She described it as candlestick-like or club-like. Some reports indicate it may have been an object from a fireplace. Then she struck him. She hit Johnathan Willette in the head while he was defenseless, face down on that bed. In her police interview, Devyn admitted this much. She said she hit him. And in a chilling detail, she told investigators he was breathing after she struck him. But forensic evidence would tell a far more complete and horrifying story. The medical examiner determined that Johnathan died from blunt force trauma to the head. The murder weapon was never recovered, but the evidence showed he was struck with enough force to kill him. And then, after he was dead, Devyn Michaels did something that would elevate this from a murder case to one of the most disturbing crimes in Nevada history.
Around what time did that call come out?
Don't know the exact time, but I roughly think it was around 8:50-ish.
What Devyn Michaels did after killing Johnathan Willette goes beyond murder. It enters the realm of desecration, of a complete disregard for human dignity that shocked even experienced homicide detectives. Using a knife and what forensic experts believe was a mechanical saw, Devyn decapitated Johnathan's body. She removed his head from his body in that bedroom, in his mother's home, and disposed of it. To this day, Johnathan Willette's head has never been recovered. Investigators believe she threw it away in the trash in her northwest Las Vegas neighborhood, discarded like garbage. But she wasn't done. Devyn poured chemicals over Johnathan's body. A mixture of ammonia and bleach, caustic enough that when police arrived, the fumes were so overwhelming that officers struggled to breathe. The chemicals were meant to destroy evidence, to burn away any traces that could connect her to the crime. At 2:04 a.m. on August 7, surveillance cameras captured a Nissan Armada turning from Palo Duro onto Charter Oak Drive. The vehicle was leaving the area of the murder scene. When the sun rose on August 7, 2023, Johnathan Willette's headless, chemically burned body lay in his mother's home. And Devyn Michaels went about her day as if nothing had happened. When Henderson Police Department homicide detectives arrived at the Palo Duro residence, they encountered a scene that would haunt them. Detective Dennis Ozawa, the lead investigator on the case, described entering the home and being immediately hit by the overwhelming smell of ammonia and bleach. The chemical odor was so strong it created a dangerous environment for first responders. In the bedroom, they found Johnathan Willette's headless body. The level of violence, the deliberate desecration, immediately told investigators this was personal. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong or a random act of violence. Someone wanted Johnathan dead, and they wanted to hide what they'd done. The investigation moved quickly. Detectives discovered Johnathan's phone in Devyn Michaels' car. There was blood on it. In her purse, they found Johnathan's social security card. Hidden in her underwear drawer, wrapped in a plastic bag, investigators found Johnathan's wallet, his ID, and his car keys. The evidence was overwhelming. But detectives needed Devyn's statement. Detective Douglas Lana and Detective Dennis Ozawa brought Devyn Michaels in for questioning. The video of that interrogation would become critical evidence at trial. In the interview, Devyn admitted she hit Johnathan. She described the object she used and confirmed he was face down when she struck him. She maintained he was still breathing after the blow. But then came one of the most chilling moments in the entire investigation. Detective Ozawa asked Devyn a pointed question. "Is it possible you killed Johnathan and don't remember?" Devyn's response, "Very possible." Those two words would echo through the courtroom months later. The detectives pressed further. They asked about the decapitation, about the chemicals, about the disposal of Johnathan's head. Devyn's answers were evasive, contradictory, and at times, bizarre. She seemed unable or unwilling to fully account for what happened that night. But the physical evidence didn't lie. The blood. The phone. The personal items hidden in her home. The surveillance footage. The timeline of events. It all pointed to one conclusion: Devyn Michaels murdered Johnathan Willette, decapitated him, tried to destroy the evidence, and disposed of his head. The question that remained was, why? To understand why Devyn Michaels killed Johnathan Willette, investigators had to untangle one of the most bizarre family situations they'd ever encountered. As we've established, Devyn was married to Johnathan from 2012 to 2018. They had 2 daughters together. After the divorce, Devyn married Johnathan's adult son, Devyn Willette, who was 29 years old at the time of the murder. This created a family structure that defied normal boundaries. Devyn's daughters were both her children with Johnathan and her stepdaughters through her marriage to Devyn, their half-brother. Devyn herself acknowledged how strange this was. When speaking with Nicholas Eason, a family services supervisor with Clark County, she described her behavior as unusual. She told Eason that her marriage to Johnathan wasn't real. She described her relationship with him as purely transactional, sex in exchange for financial support. But despite the dysfunction, a semblance of stability existed. Devyn lived with Devyn. The girls spent time between households. Life, however messy, moved forward. Then Johnathan won sole custody. The custody battle between Devyn Michaels and Johnathan Willette was contentious and bitter. Nicholas Eason from Clark County Family Services testified that Johnathan Willette seemed determined to get his daughters home. He would do whatever was necessary to secure their safety and well-being. Eason also noted something else: Johnathan didn't seem hateful toward Devyn. Despite their troubled history, despite the custody fight, he wasn't motivated by vengeance. He was motivated by love for his children. In August 2023, Johnathan succeeded. He won sole custody of their 2 daughters. But he didn't want to uproot the girls completely. He didn't want to traumatize them by removing them from their mother's home entirely. So Johnathan made a decision: he would move back in with Devyn and their daughters. He would live under the same roof to be present in his children's lives while maintaining the custody arrangement. Prosecutors would later argue this is what sealed his fate. Deputy District Attorney Brittany Griffith told the jury, "The walls were closing in on Devyn Michaels and the fantasy that she had put together. If Johnathan moved back in, everything changed. The living arrangement with Devyn would be disrupted. The financial arrangements would shift. The carefully constructed illusion of her life would collapse." And so, prosecutors argued, Devyn Michaels decided to eliminate the problem. She decided Johnathan Willette had to die. Before we get to the murder trial, there's a detail so shocking, so unbelievable, that it bears mentioning. On August 9, 2023, just 3 days after Devyn murdered Johnathan, she appeared in court. But she wasn't there for the murder. Not yet. Devyn Michaels stood before Clark County District Court Judge Mary Kay Holthus for sentencing on a child abuse charge. She received 1 year of probation. At that moment, Johnathan's headless body had already been discovered. Police were actively investigating his murder. Detectives had already spoken with Devyn and were gathering evidence. But she hadn't been arrested yet. So Devyn Michaels walked out of that courthouse a free woman, having just been sentenced for child abuse while homicide detectives built their murder case against her. When Devyn was eventually arrested and charged with first-degree murder, the evidence against her was overwhelming. Her own statements to police. The physical evidence. The surveillance footage. The victim's belongings found in her possession. Facing a potential life sentence, Devyn Michaels and her attorneys made a strategic decision. In 2024, she agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder. The deal was straightforward. Plead guilty, receive a sentence that would make her eligible for parole after serving 15 years. For Johnathan's family, it meant avoiding a painful trial. It meant some measure of closure. The case appeared to be over. A sentencing hearing was scheduled for July 2024. July 2024. What should have been a routine sentencing hearing became one of the most dramatic moments in the entire case. Devyn Michaels stood before Judge Tiara Jones. The expectation was clear. She would be formally sentenced under the terms of her plea agreement, and the case would close. But Devyn had other plans. She began by apologizing to Johnathan's family. She expressed remorse for what happened. And then, in a moment that stunned everyone in the courtroom, she said, "I know right now no one in the family is going to believe me, but I can actually prove my innocence. I actually can, and I'm not going to stop fighting to prove my innocence." She claimed the person truly responsible for Johnathan's death had not been held accountable. She accused investigators of manipulating and altering evidence, twisting facts, engaging in misconduct. They should not be able to do it, she told the court. Deputy District Attorney John Giordani immediately questioned whether the sentencing should proceed. Judge Jones had to determine whether Devyn's plea had been entered voluntarily and with full understanding of its implications. After reviewing the record, Judge Jones confirmed that Devyn had entered her plea voluntarily, knowingly, and intelligently. But the damage was done. Devyn Michaels formally withdrew her guilty plea. The case was going to trial. And now, instead of facing 15 years before parole eligibility, Devyn Michaels faced life in prison. The trial of Devyn Michaels began in November 2024, broadcast live on Court TV for the world to watch. For 2 weeks, prosecutors John Giordani and Brittany Griffith presented their case to a jury. They showed graphic crime scene photographs of Johnathan's decapitated, chemically burned body. They played surveillance footage from the Chevron gas station showing Devyn and Johnathan together hours before his death. They presented the physical evidence, the bloodied phone, the hidden wallet and keys, the social security card. They played video of Devyn's police interrogation, including her admission that she hit Johnathan and her acknowledgement that it was very possible she killed him and didn't remember. Prosecutors argued that Devyn made a series of conscious, deliberate decisions that night. She got up. She retrieved an object. She struck Johnathan while he was defenseless. She decapitated him. She poured chemicals on his body. She disposed of his head. "You have to put her on the far end of the spectrum of evil," John Giordani told the jury. The defense, led by attorney Robert Draskevich, argued the investigation was biased and rushed. They claimed police made mistakes and ignored alternative suspects, specifically pointing to Devyn Willette, Devyn's husband and Johnathan's son. They emphasized that no one witnessed the murder. The murder weapon was never found. The saw allegedly used for decapitation was never recovered. "Where's the testimony of a powered saw?" Draskevich asked the jury. "She didn't do it." The defense argued there was no evidence Devyn actually decapitated Johnathan, suggesting someone else could have done it after she left. But the jury wasn't convinced. After just 2 hours of deliberation, they reached a verdict. Guilty. First-degree murder with use of a deadly weapon. Which brings us back to where we started. January 8, 2026. Devyn Michaels returns to Judge Tiara Jones' courtroom for sentencing.
377239 State of Nevada versus Devyn.
Johnathan Willette's family fills the courtroom. His stepmother, Valerie Willette, speaks on behalf of the family. "We cannot bring Johnathan back," she tells the court. "God has gained an angel in heaven. We believe he is watching over us and the girls. Those girls, Johnathan's daughters, are now in the custody of his father and stepmother. Grandparents who had never met their grandchildren before the murder. Grandparents who now carry the weight of raising 2 traumatized little girls who lost their father in the most horrible way imaginable." Deputy District Attorney John Giordani addresses the court one final time. "You have to put her on the far end of the spectrum of evil, Judge. Is a person who's capable of such extreme evil someone who we want to walk our streets, whether that is 20 years from now, 28 years from now, or not?" Devyn's attorney, Robert Draskevich, argues for leniency. He characterizes the murder as a single impulsive act followed by bad decisions. He notes Devyn has no prior criminal history. But Judge Tiara Jones has heard enough. Devyn Michaels is sentenced to 20 years to life for first-degree murder, plus a consecutive sentence of 8 to 20 years for use of a deadly weapon. Total, 28 years to life in prison. Devyn Michaels won't be eligible for parole until she has served 28 years. She'll be 76 years old in the year 2054. Johnathan Willette's daughters will be in their 30s. Before she's led away, Devyn speaks briefly, "I cannot deliver what the family is hoping for." And with that, Devyn Michaels is taken into custody to begin serving what may very well be the rest of her life behind bars. Johnathan Willette's head has not been found. The murder weapon was never recovered. The mechanical saw that investigators believe was used to decapitate him has never been located. And despite her conviction, despite 28 years to life in prison, Devyn Michaels maintains she can prove her innocence. But the evidence speaks for itself. The jury heard it. They deliberated for just 2 hours. And they found her guilty. 2 little girls are growing up without their father. They'll never get to ask him for advice. They'll never see him walk them down the aisle. They'll never introduce him to his grandchildren. Because on the night of August 6, 2023, in a quiet suburban home in Henderson, Nevada, Devyn Michaels decided that her ex-husband, the father of her children, had to die. And in doing so, she didn't just take Johnathan's life. She destroyed her daughter's childhoods. She tore apart multiple families. And she created a legacy of pain and trauma that will echo for generations. Justice has been served. Devyn Michaels will spend the rest of her life behind bars. But for Johnathan Willette's family, for his daughters, the real sentence is life without him. And that's a sentence that will never end.